Hi there, it is Landon90 and welcome to my tutorial. Today I will be showing you how to show a proximity prompt to a specific player. So first, what is our goal? Our goal is to show a proximity prompt to a specific player. So if you have a hidden proximity prompt that you only want one person to see or only a select few people to see, you can use this type of script to implement that. Now, how is this going to be implemented? First, we're going to have a server script that fires a remote event to a specific client with details of which proximity prompt to display. And then we're going to have the local script that listens for that event from the server and change the enabled property on the proximity prompt that the server tells the local script to change. So now let's hop right into Roblox Studio and get down into it. Okay, so now that we're in Roblox Studio, we're going to first add in 3 parts. One of those is going to be a wall, so we'll just make that into a wall real quick. Okay, and then the other 2 are just going to be basic little buttons that we're just going to have down here. And we're going to make one green because it's going to be the on, and then we're going to make one red because it's going to be the off. And we're just going to name each of these parts. So we'll just name this one wall, we'll name this one on, and then we'll name this one, we'll name it off, okay? And inside of the wall, we'll have the proximity prompt. It's not really going to do anything during this tutorial, but we're just having it in here just so that we know where we will see the proximity prompt. And then inside of the on and off, we're going to want some click detectors, just one for each. And inside of those, we'll have a script. So inside of the on, we'll just add in a script, and then we'll just make a basic connection to that click detector. So we'll do script.parent.mouseClick connect, and then we'll just throw in a function right here. We can maybe just have a print that says clicked, and we'll just leave this out of the off script or off button for now. But if we just go into the game, we can see we click the off button, nothing happens. We click the on button, and down here it says that we clicked it 7 times. And then we also see this proximity prompt. Now, what we're going to be trying to do is show it to a very specific player, and also we could be able to hide it again from that player whenever we choose to. So just for right now, we're just going to have this as enabled false, so that whenever we go back into the game, it should be hidden by default to everyone. So we do not see a proximity prompt here, and we got to anchor our parts. So let's just do that real quick. Okay, so now how are we going to have the server talk to the client and say, show them this proximity prompt? Well, we can make a remote event. So we will add a folder into the replicated storage. We could just name this cross communications. And inside of cross communications, we can add a remote event. And then we could have this set to be called show prompt. And then now we want a script inside of the starter player that can wait and listen for this event to be fired. So we'll go into the starter player scripts. We'll just add in a local script. And we're going to get the replicated storage. So we're going to say local replicated storage equals game. And then we're going to get service replicated storage. And then we're going to want the show prompt. So we'll also just make this another variable just so that it's a little bit prettier down below. We'll just have it called show prompt, and that's replicated storage dot cross communications dot show prompt. And I'll make this a little bit bigger just so that it's easier to see. And then now we want to listen for that event to be fired. So we can have show prompt dot on client event, and then we will connect to that. We'll add a function inside of there, and these are going to be the parameters that will be passed through. So we'll expect that the specific prompt that we want will be passed through. The visibility, so true if we want to see it, false if we don't. So we'll name that visibility. And then we'll even have a third parameter. So whenever the player gets removed, whether the character dies or is like reset for any reason, whether or not we want that proximity prompt to be reset back to hidden. So we can have hide on remove. And then we have our end statement here, just so that the function ends. And now inside of here, if we don't have a prompt, then we don't really need to do anything. So we don't need to have any special cases that checks to see if there's a prompt. If the script fails, then that's fine. So we can just immediately say prompt.enabled equals visibility. And remember earlier we disabled the proximity prompt. So if we're setting visibility to the prompt.enabled, we can show it or we can hide it. And since this is in a local script that's inside of the starter player, it's only specific to that client. So we don't need to worry about this script making, say, player 2 see it whenever player 1 is supposed to be the only person to be able to see it at that point. So everything just happens locally on the client's system. Okay, let's now tackle the hide on remove. So we're just going to keep essentially a list of which prompts we have shown to the user that we want to remove or hide whenever the player is removed. So we'll just have like a little table here or list called prompts to be hidden. And anytime that we have a prompt set to true that is also called with hide on remove, then we can add it inside of here so that whenever that player is removed, we go through all of these prompts and then disable them. So we can now say if hide on remove, then, and then we're just going to check to see if this is already in the table. So we could say find, or we could actually just name it found prompt is table.find. So we're going to be searching this table, and then prompts to be hidden, and then we're just going to see if this specific prompt is already in there. So if find is nil, which means it's not in that list, then we can insert it into that table. So table.insert, and then we can have prompts to be hidden, and then we're going to add in this prompt. And I apologize, I meant to name this found prompt, not find. So again, one more time, if we have hide on remove, then we look to see if this prompt is already in our list that we're keeping track of. If it isn't, then we add it into that list. And then now we just have to make sure that we remove it from that list if the visibility has already been set to false. So if visibility is false, then we can do found prompt is, again, the same logic as above. Oh my goodness, my hands are not working, sorry. And then prompt, and then we can say if found prompt is nil, or sorry, is not nil, because we want to find it this time, then table, and then instead of inserting it, we're going to remove it, and then we'll have the prompts to be hidden as the table, and then the found prompt is what we want to remove. So right now, all this is doing is accepting a call from the server that gives us which prompt, the visibility, and whether or not we should hide it on remove. And then we just want to do one more thing inside of the script, is that whenever the player is being removed, we want to hide all the prompts that are in that list and then clear that list out. Now, in order to hide these prompts whenever the player is being removed, we want to first get players, so we can make a variable for that. We can say players equals game, then we're going to get the service of players, and then down here we can connect to the character removing for the local player. So we could say players.localPlayer, then character removing connect, and then we can have a function here. Now inside of this function, we essentially just want to loop through all the prompts to be hidden and then set all those enabled to false. We can say for, and then we'll just do I and prompt. I is the number, and then prompt is the prompt to be removed, and prompts to be hidden, do. So we're just going to loop through, and then we're going to have each prompt, and then we're going to say if prompt. So if that prompt exists, then prompt.enabled is false. And then at the end, we can just set prompts to be hidden to an empty table again. So then that way we don't need to loop back over whenever the player resets again. Now everything seems to be all good on the client side. Now we just need to call it from the server. So we're going to go back to the on button. And inside of the on button, we have the click detector and that script. Now, right now we just have it so that it prints clicked, but we want to now call that event. So we're going to get the replicated storage. So local replicated storage is game get service replicated storage. And then we want to grab the show prompt from the cross communications. So we can just say show prompt is replicated storage.cross communications.show prompt. Now inside of here, we can just do show prompt, and then we want to fire client. We want to fire a specific client. Well, how do we know which client? Well, whenever we do mouse click, we can actually get a parameter. So we can have the player who clicked, which is, again, the person who clicks that button. Then we can pass that player who clicked into the fire client so we know specifically who we are targeting. And then now we want to know which prompt we want. So we're just going to make a variable up here. We're just going to name it prompt just to make things clear. And we want to get that proximity prompt. So it's inside of the workspace, it's inside of wall, and then it's proximity prompt. So we can do workspace.wall.proximity prompt. So this is the prompt that we want to send through. And then remember the parameters went prompt, the visibility, and then whether we or not we want to remove it whenever the player is removed, or hide it whenever the player is removed. So we can say, since this is the on button, we can have it set the visibility to true. And then right now we will not have it remove whenever the player gets reset. And then we can show you what that's like in the future. And then we can actually just copy all of this. And actually we'll just copy the whole entire script. And then we'll just paste it into the off button. But then this time we'll set the visibility to false. So then now, if we go into the game, we press play, we can walk up to the wall. We don't see any proximity prompt here. But if I click the green button, it now appears. If I click the red button, it disappears. But then now remember, whenever we have the player removing to disable the proximity prompt set to false, if I reset, we can take a moment here and then wait. And I can still see the proximity prompt. Now if we go back in and then we set this to true, now whenever I go into the game, I don't see this. I click the green button, it shows up. I click the red button, it goes away. I want it to show again. I come down here and I reset my character, and we'll see what happens whenever the player gets removed. We walk back over to the wall and we don't see the prompt anymore. So that is how you show or hide a proximity prompt from a specific player. Just be mindful that players can manipulate their clients to see any proximity prompts that are in the game already. So if you're trying to make sure that the player does something that they are allowed to do and can't do things that they're not allowed to do, you're going to have to add some other checks in the server whenever a player actually triggers that proximity prompt. Say if it was supposed to give them a special power or something, have the server make sure that that player is actually allowed to have that specific power. And I would suggest that you play around with this and try to find your own implementations, different modifications that you can do to make this better or fit your exact needs. If you have any suggestions that you'd like me to show you, please leave them down in the comment. If you have anything that I missed out, please let everyone else know down in the comments and I can pin that for you. And please just like and subscribe if you really appreciated this content. And if not, tell me what I can do to improve. So thank you so much. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.